you've been able to build your business to a massive level really quickly. 400,000 subscribers on YouTube, the newsletter that you're growing now. But there was an idea that you threw out live.
I'll roast a piece of content. And then people were like, well, I'll actually pay $1,000 a month. I'm like, what? And I've since got 9 emails so far.
So you have a $9,000 a month recurring revenue business if you want it.
But I think about like, what's the process in place where I feel like I'm over delivering for those people who sign up?
Let's jump on the whiteboard and see if we can sketch out this business.
I see a lot of you doing this. Don't do that. Do this instead.
I'd pay double.
Really? And then maybe I like categorize these by verticals. You can learn what are the mistakes that other people are making. If I were to offer this right now, would you pay $12,000?
Happily customer number one.
Wow.
So Jon, you've been able to build your business to a massive level really quickly, right? You're over 400,000 subscribers on YouTube. You've got the newsletter that you're growing now. And what I love about it is you have this whole business behind it. It's not like as a solo creator, you're just doing it. You've built the team, you're taking it very seriously. And I want to dive into the tactics and what's working and just what you've done. So
yeah, and I'm happy to dive into like how to get those easy wins as a creator, trying to build a newsletter, how I built the YouTube business, what other businesses we have, how the newsletter is feeding into that, and also just get your advice about what other things we should be doing. So hopefully other folks who are watching can benefit as well.
Yeah, let's do a few of those takeaways that you had on growing growing the newsletter from YouTube. And then I want to get into, there was an idea that you threw out live. We'll get into it in a second. I'm not going to tease it yet.
Yeah.
But like, let's workshop if that is an actual viable business that we should do.
Yeah, I love that as a cliffhanger. And who knows, maybe we'll look back at this in a year like that was like the biggest thing to come out of this, even though there's so many things. First things first, I think the biggest things I took away in terms of easy wins for creators to have when they're starting newsletters is, if you're doing an interview format, especially, I think having takeaways of that interview as the lead magnet or the thing on your landing page that gives people that extra push to sign up if they're just viewing the video. And saying that right now, it sounds a bit obvious, but for me, until I saw everybody in the crowd like kind of raise their hand saying they wanted that, as we were kind of going back and forth, it didn't hit me that a lot of people are watching, like listening, not watching, a lot of people may be watching, but more passively, not taking notes. And a lot of people may be taking notes and not realizing that maybe I had different takeaways, or maybe there's things that happen behind the scenes, like with my interview with Mr. Beast, that I'd put down in that doc that they could get if they sign up for the newsletter as an extra download, as an extra lead gen. So I think that was the first thing I thought about is like, if it's an interview, can I have a takeaways doc that if you just listened to my interview with Mr. Beast, go to this page, created.news/Mr. Beast to get my like PDF, like my 2-pager of takeaways. Or if it's an explainer video, it's a solo video where I'm like, ex-YouTube employee explains 8 ways to grow on YouTube today, like that video that I put up on my channel, having like the template or the tools or the things that I talked about in written form. To me, it was almost so easy that I ignored it, but hearing the people say, no, I want that.
Right.
I think we'll do that and it'll help grow our newsletter.
And people talking about it being at the very end of the video or near the end of the video. And so your target market for that is the super fans who have gone through so much of this content.
Yes. And it still like keeps like enough room in the beginning for retention. And if you have a sponsor, you can still put it. So I thought that was really interesting and I'm excited to do that. And I can't wait.
Yeah. What were some of the other things that you were thinking like, I might try this?
I think the other thing is like having really good referrals that build on the reason why people subscribed. Right. And so, my plan going into this was like, okay, I want to have like digital deliverables and having 4 of them. One of them, if you refer one person, is kind of like this infinite ideas ebook I call, which is like 8 ways to grow on social media and how to find better ideas. Because if you don't have a good idea or you don't know how to find them, you're just going to be starting with an uphill battle every time. So that's one ebook. The other one is like breaking down YouTube's like top 30 thumbnails, why they work, the psychology and checklist behind making your own thumbnail. And the third one was a like top video outliers ebook. And the fourth one, which just, I couldn't believe the reaction to that, was like, hey, if you refer like, 100 people to the newsletter, I'll roast a piece of content.
Yeah.
And then people were like, well, I'll actually pay for that. I'm like, oh, all right. And then somebody's like during this session, like this fireside chat we were having on stage, they're like, oh, I'll pay $1,000 a month. I'm like, okay. And then more people, what was it, like 15 people or something?
There was quite a few who were like, no, I will pay for that right now.
Yeah. And then like in the 90 minutes since, like I was like, okay, anybody who's interested, email me hi@youshaei.com, hi@youshaei.com. And I've since got 9 emails so far saying we'll sign up.
Yeah. So you have a $9,000 a month recurring
I don't
revenue
know.
business if you want it.
Yeah. I need to think about how to create the process and over deliver on those roasts and all that. But that was crazy because I was like, okay, I want to deliver that as something for a referral. And then it turned into something that, oh, no, we'll pay.
Right.
So maybe that's another part of the business in addition to like, we have sponsorships, we have consulting.
But this roast idea is so interesting. One thing that I'm wondering is based on the scale of your business, say we got this to 10 people. Is 10,000 a month like pretty meaningful in your business at this point? Or is that too small to have a big impact?
It's definitely meaningful. I mean, both as a business owner and as a dad. And now that I have a baby girl to take care of and we're like thinking about her future life and education. Yeah, it's definitely meaningful. The thing I think about though is like, that's meaningful revenue. What does that mean for my time? But I think about like, what's the process in place where I feel like I'm over delivering for those people who sign up so I can review their content. I can review the thumbnail, the title, the packaging, and provide like clear alternatives. Because I want to make sure that whenever I give advice or I'm giving audits, it's never abstract.
Right.
And I'm being very hands-on. I'm showing how to change it so that can meaningfully drive more views and then more conversions in their business. So I'm excited about it, but also I think the right process has to be put in place so it doesn't like take so much time that it takes away from like creating the interviews and content that's having the big growth that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, I like it. Well, if you're up for it, let's jump on the whiteboard and see if we can sketch out this business.
Sure.
And so the criteria of our flywheel here is we need it to not take that much of your time. We need it to be at least decently scalable. We can get to a meaningful revenue, and then it has to deliver a lot of value for the clients.
Yes.
Sound good?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right,
let's do it.
Let's grab some markers.
So I think right now our overall like brand name is Created, and so I was thinking like this will be called like it's called Created with Jon Youshaei.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, if this part of the business maybe it's called Roasted.
Created and roasted.
Yeah.
So you got the two sides.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, and then so if the price point is,
what do you think about? You threw out 1,000 a month on stage. What do you think about that price?
Or they threw it out there. It sounds like a big number, and it definitely is. I always try to think about like, okay, well, my time, like what does that mean? Like in terms of like versus a consulting session, or like a lot of like brands bring us on as like retainer, and like we'll do a sponsored post, we'll do monthly consulting, and then maybe there's a speaking event thrown in there. So right now, let's just say like going with that, they're like, Yeah,
so I wanna dive into that for a second because there's really two parts to this equation in the price.
Yeah.
So if I throw this up here and we're trying to come to price, then we need to there's going to be our costs, which are primarily time. So I'm gonna throw in the two sides.
Yep.
We've got time and then we've got value.
Yep.
And so, and maybe it's time and cost.
Yeah.
And so the intersection of these two things brings us to what we can actually charge.
Yes.
What things would you need to deliver on the value side where you're just like, this is above and beyond what anyone would expect?
Yeah. Well, actually, what's so awesome about this is we kind of build this business in real time. Like, what would you value as somebody? You're a founder. You're making content. Like, it's a monthly service where know you'll get a deep audit and roast on that piece of content. Let's say we're primarily talking about a YouTube video where there's a lot of parts to it, the title, thumbnail, intro, and then body of it. What would you want as a monthly like deliverable to feel like you're getting around that price point?
Yeah, so the first thing is, this isn't quite the answer to your question, but what I'm realizing is the amount of money I already spend to create content.
Yeah.
Right? Like I just built out this whole studio. I'm spending $7,000 or $8,000 a month just on the teams, like doing the editing, my time. So my all-in cost on content right now related to this that you would be roasting is probably, call it $18,000 to $20,000 a month if I'm valuing my own time.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so basically I want to see in that value, to make it worthwhile, to pay $1,000 a month, I'm looking for probably a 10 to 20% increase over my baseline of performance, right? So it's not actually, you don't have to make my videos twice as good.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm just going to say 10 to 20%.
And maybe make your process more efficient. Because I'm already thinking about like, like how are you even making these videos beyond the output, and how can I help? Because there's a lot of things that we've learned, like it's like training on an editor on an intro versus the body of an interview or the body of a video is actually very different. And there's different things that you should tell an intro editor to make those better versus the body editor. So,
so I think a 10-20% increase in performance would be good.
Yeah.
But then actually what you're saying is if you, in addition to that, if you give me a decrease in effort to produce, like that's worth it as well.
Yep.
I don't know what other things. I feel like I'm relatively new to the space.
Yeah.
So what other things should I be looking for in that value?
Let's get specific. Like how many things do you want me to roast for that price point?
So I'm putting out a video a week.
Okay.
So I would love to, like, I want a fast cycle of feedback.
Yeah.
Right. And so I want, if we put out a video and you roast it, I don't want to make the same mistake.
Right.
And so I want that you're like, okay, you mostly got the idea from the roast.
Yeah.
But you missed this part of it. Or you misunderstood.
Yeah.
And that might be too often because there's a lead time in videos.
Right.
And all of that. But I would love 4 pieces of content roasted a month.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
you think that's a lot? Or
that's a lot. Because I'm going to go in depth with each one.
That makes sense.
And the other thing is, if you're making the same type of content once a week, it may be the same mistakes repeating. So
you're like, I told you this last week, and we're saying, yeah, but we actually made that video 3 weeks ago.
Right.
And the cadence doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So I think it would be
1 piece per month?
No, I feel like I would want to do 2.
Okay.
But I mean, let me ask you the question. Does 1 feel too little if it's in depth and you learn?
The way I would position it is less around, we're doing 1 roast per month of a featured piece of content.
Yep.
And you might pull up some YouTube analytics for the whole channel as you do it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, here's some of the other things that I noticed. Right, so you focus the roast on a single piece of content.
Yeah.
But there might be a way that we package it so I don't feel like I'm paying $1,000 for a video roast.
Yeah.
Like maybe there's a little bit of a channel
audit
in there as well, which might only take you an additional 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think that could, but I try to think about how that becomes repeatable. Because like a channel audit, you could do once, and then maybe once they improve, you could do another time. I guess here's another question that goes into it. And like if folks are listening in the comments, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts as well. Would you want to get feedback before you put it out or after the video?
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, before. Ideally.
So you can know how to.
Yeah, because if it's like, hey, this video would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But you kind of screwed up the intro.
Right.
And it's like, better luck next time.
Yeah.
So, would we put that down of like feedback before?
I mean, I want to, for value, I want to over-index on what's ideal for you.
I think,
And then when it comes to time and cost, I want to figure out what's sustainable for me.
Yep.
So that seemed like a pretty, that was a pretty clear answer, like you value before.
Yep.
The thing I think about with that is like, okay, let's multiply that by 5 creators. They all want me to talk about before that all of their upload schedules are on a different timeline.
Right.
How do I
batch this? Right. So it's over here. We need a batch process.
Right. So feedback before on everyone's different schedule makes you like a bit like nervous.
So one thing is that I think what we have to say is that for this to work, it has to be on your schedule, not theirs.
I mean, but I still
we get
want
to set the rules here, right?
I think so, yeah. For me to do this sustainably, because otherwise it's like, I don't know, maybe that's like a different service where it's like 48-hour turnaround. But I want to be able to do stuff that I could commit to,
Right, because you also don't want to have all of this freedom as a creator and build your business.
And then get a video where it's like, that will take significant time to go in depth and get feedback on. And so I think it has to be batch, and therefore it's like, I'm trying to think if it's.
I think it has to be on your schedule.
Let's say, Nathan, if you submit like feedback like of a video and like before, how would you wait 2 weeks to put it out? If that's like maybe I'm thinking about a rotation cycle where it's like roasts come in on the 1st and 15th of every month. Okay. Submit before.
Yep.
Would a 2-week window?
Because you might move some episodes around
to fit in.
You're like, hey, there's this one episode that is going to be good, but like we're not expecting amazing things.
Yeah.
Versus I got this one creator in as a guest, and I really want to nail this.
Yeah.
And so I'd switch it around so that
The higher priority comes to me.
so the higher priority comes to you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think one piece of content per month, because we'll learn the lessons from it. So I like the 1st and the 15th.
Okay. For one piece of content, or still talking about 2?
No, I think for one.
For one.
Because I think you're right that the timing of it, or like the lessons learned, will be applicable to so much more.
Yeah.
Especially if you had that as part of your
Yeah.
bit. Like the recurring takeaways that I want you to have are like, here's feedback specific to this video, and this is applicable, beyond that.
Yeah.
So we'll just go 1st and then 15th.
15th. And therefore, like, if let's say somebody submits on the 3rd, I have until the 15th. Ideally, I'm like, maybe I have to like have a window of like,
there's 3 days before.
3 days before. Then on the 12th. So if the dates of delivery are 1st and 15th, or maybe it's like those are the dates you have to have it in. Then for me, I know I have to set a like maybe it's the 16th and the 2nd, or like a day in between to sit down and go through all the stuff that have been submitted.
Right.
And give in-depth feedback. So that way, within like 48 hours of the deadlines, people get their deliverable.
Yeah.
Which is the audit, the roast.
Yeah, I think that would work really well because then you could batch it.
Yeah.
I think like my ideal for you is in this business, we can get to something like, I'm trying to think if this is even possible.
Yeah.
5 hours, twice a month equals $25,000.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like that's where this is just a home run of a business. Even if you're like, oh, I'm not going to scale it further. Like you think about the security you can give your family, your team for payroll, all of that stuff. If you're like, hey, I know I always have this $25,000 a month coming in.
Yeah.
But then a total of 10 hours a month is like, you can consistently commit to that.
Yep.
Without being like, oh, I committed to 10 hours a week. And now Jimmy's like, hey, let's go do a shoot. And you're like, oh, but the roast.
Right. I want that flexibility to deliver the content.
10 p.m. from your hotel room.
Yes.
That's not going to work.
Right.
Is there, I just threw that out there of like 5 hours twice a month equals 25,000.
Yeah.
As we're dreaming, does that sound about right? Or
okay, so the deliverable right now is like, I'm trying to think about like it's. Do you use frame.io?
We do, yeah.
What if I took your video, or you send it to me in a frame link, and I left notes on it?
Yeah.
Or would you like a Google Doc?
No. Frame is fantastic.
Okay, so let's go like a frame. So what you could expect is you submit as a frame link.
Yeah.
So that way, like I have it ready to watch. I don't have to like worry about the uploading process. Yeah. I'm watching it and I'm giving my notes per timestamp.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one deliverable. Before I go on and just try to go into over deliver mode, if that happens once a month with a video for this price point, is that enough?
I think so. I think it will filter out. It'll filter your demographic some, right? Because what I'm realizing is I would actually get 2 subscriptions to this service because I would do one for my personal brand and I would do one for the ConvertKit team.
Got it.
Because I'm already paying multiple full-time people to produce all this content. Yeah. So if you're adding on $1,000 a month to that, like it's fairly insignificant. Now, so I think $1,000 a month for this one deliverable, one video is totally worth it. But you will filter out some people like this is not a beginner service. It's not intended to be. Right. And so you just have to be like unashamed about that. Right. That someone's like, that's so expensive. And you're like, well, we'll get into the watching publicly thing, which I think could be interesting. Yeah. Well, what I was just thinking is as we play with the price point, now if you're doing feedback and roasts on videos when they're live on YouTube, that feels like a perfect thing to do in public that other people can learn from. Either everyone can, or maybe specifically only the other members of this
get access to it.
And there might be something like, hey, if you want your videos roasted in private, that's $2,000 a month. Right? Because maybe you're a brand that really cares about exactly how you show up.
You don't want your rough draft public.
You don't want your rough draft public, And so you could have some price differentiation based on that. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
What do you it sounds like another deliverable could be, I'll put an asterisk by this, but it's like access to other roasts.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And what does that look like? Do you want to see the frame links of those people?
It's not just that you're giving me one roast per month. Yeah. If you had 10 clients in this, we're saying 25 clients. Right. I'm getting access to 25 roasts a month. Yeah. I may not consume them all. Right. But that's pretty phenomenal. You just give everyone, hey, you can do private roasts if you send a frame link. Yeah. If you want to do public roast, send me the finished YouTube video.
Got it.
And you could play around with that.
And what would be the roast or the feedback there? Because if it's public, I could do two things. One, I could put it in frame and respond there, or I could do a live reaction of it.
Yeah. I mean, either one would be super interesting. But I think there's a lot of value in the access.
There is.
The other roasts.
Okay. And then maybe I like categorize these by verticals.
Yeah.
So if you're like, okay, if a founder channel versus a cooking channel versus a food channel,
right,
you can learn what are the mistakes that other people are making.
I like that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So it's like the more this service exists, the more like the library of content becomes interesting, as long as people know they're opting in to having their rough drafts shared. And maybe I guess there's two versions of this. There's like private, semi-private, and public. Like, and semi-private is this, where it's like other paying customers get access to other paying customers' rows, but that's semi-private, and then private is like, no, just I don't want my frame link shared with anyone. And I'm trying to think like I guess people would like to opt out. Maybe they have to pay more because they're kind of like by doing that.
They're not delivering value.
They're not resending value to the community. Yeah. So how much would you value? So I think these two can be like the original price point. How much would you value if you're like, I don't want my stuff being accessed by anyone else?
At first I was thinking I'd pay double.
Really? To make it private?
I think so.
Okay.
Well, it's hard because I personally, like, I'm working public on everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I think brands would for sure.
Yeah.
And so I'd say it's less of the private package,
and
it's more of like the brand or the business package. I'd probably put it at $2,500 a month.
Whoa. Okay. Wow.
Because if you think about it, like what else they're spending money on in their business.
Yeah.
If a company is saying, we're going to start a YouTube channel and take it seriously.
Yeah.
I guarantee they're spending at least $25,000.
Yeah.
And so you're saying, hey, like, let's make sure this is effective.
Right.
They might only sign up for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
You know, but the library of roasts, you know, there's this idea of like all this content is available for free online, right? Maybe there's other reaction videos and roasts and all that you could learn from. But no HR department wants to write a payroll check to someone where the memo line says researching free stuff on the internet.
Right.
It's totally not free anymore.
Yeah.
And so I think it's worth a lot.
Okay.
I think we, let the market decide that.
Yeah. So I'll just, to be determined, but I'll put like some kind of like upcharge versus that. Yeah.
So going back to like on the deliverables or like the end state, well, I think what we're trying to say is like 10 hours equals 25,000. If we could design this, I mean, really, probably at this stage, 5 hours equaling 10,000 would be amazing. But like, we want to build a system that can get us to that, right?
Yeah.
There's definitely some price discrimination, right? Of we've got two packages.
Yeah.
Anyone who's followed my work for a long time knows I love multiple packages and pricing because there's this saying of like, where's the best place to sell a $3,000 watch? Next to a $20,000 watch.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, $3,000 isn't.
It's like seeing different wine listed on a menu. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're like, oh, there's a $25 bottle or a $40.
Right.
Like, oh, 40 is so expensive. But if it's 40 and 200, you're like, I think the 40 sounds good.
Yep. And also this kind of like, these price points I usually never even think about, let alone like charge. And it makes me like feel like I have a bit of way to segment because then I have my course that goes to much more aspiring creators and it's much cheaper and more affordable. So I feel like,
and you might include some of these public roasts in your course.
Yeah.
Which could give you, like, that could be part of that flywheel.
Yeah. That's interesting. Like $1,000 monthly, you would submit one video that hasn't been published yet on frame, and I would give you detailed notes.
Yeah.
You get access to other roasts.
Yeah.
And you feel like that would deliver enough value.
I think so.
For one video, because initially you started off and you said like 2 videos.
Yeah, because I think the access to other roasts and realizing that I can only incorporate so much feedback.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the overlap of the feedback. I think what would be interesting is because we're batching this on the 1st and the 15th.
Yeah.
If you did a quick summary video of what you found interesting, you're like, and maybe this is 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
You're like, hey everybody, it's the 1st of the month. I've got. Well, in this case, let's say we have 25 clients. So you drop 12 videos in this. You're like, your videos are all delivered. The 2 that I thought were most interesting are this one and this one.
Yeah.
Here was a key insight. If you watch nothing else over these 2 weeks, watch that section because that's something that you can all learn from.
I see. So it's almost like it's kind of like this, but with like a key takeaways for everyone. So it's like key like takeaways. So it's almost like I'm like you could go through and look at it, but I'm giving you the highway to
TLDR.
The TLDR.
Yeah, and you can make that super quick.
Yeah.
Right. Like this is a 3-minute video.
Yeah.
You're just hitting record on it.
Speaking of video, what do you value more, a frame link as an audit or a video reaction audit?
It's a good question. I don't know. I think I'd want to try it out. All the adult talks about this of like, optimizing for fun, right? Feel good productivity.
Yeah.
So I would be more curious of like, which is more fun to you?
It's such a, I'm trying to think that through because like for me to do a video roast, I need to make sure I'm in my set, in my studio and like
the frame one you could be on a plane
do it and so there's more flexibility. And then also think about for the end user, frame is sometimes better because it's like you could kind of see the notes in detail for those specific timestamps. But then like I'd probably like go through and watch and stop and give like talking, I could give more notes in real time. And I've also found that like the video response, it's fascinating to see somebody's eyes and body language as they watch your work.
Okay.
So it's like you could see boredom from somebody's face much more easily than, hey, I got bored during this part.
Yeah.
But then it's also like, hey, like if I'm like talking about,
you then have to intuit that they right. Like it might be easy for you because you've studied this a whole bunch.
Right.
But someone else would be like, I don't know, he just seemed same level interested.
Yeah. Or but then the benefit of frame is like you have too much headroom, move it in 20%. Make it feel like more intimate with that person. This angle like is just like not working. Do you have the other shot and just use that camera? Your audio feels muffled here. Like see if you could add like more noise cancellation or like So I could say I guess it's the same takeaways for the audience. It's just a matter of how I want to deliver it. So, but it sounds like for you didn't have conviction on.
I think either one would be fine.
All right, that's good.
You could record a quick video talking over your notes. Right. So you go through it in frame and you record a quick video and say, hey, here's the things that I noticed. This is the most important point. If you felt like that extra personal touch was necessary, I don't know, I would just play with it.
Okay, got it. So if you got to the main deliverable here, if you got a detailed frame link on either the like 2nd or 16th, like after you submit it within either window, would you feel like that is enough to warrant like the monthly subscription?
Yep, I think it's this plus the access to the roasts, and $1,000 a month.
And then this is always evergreen, so it's always there. But I guess this is the thing that I'd also deliver. Like, hey guys, I just roasted like the last like 10 videos from those of you who submitted. Just wanted to give like a key takeaway that I think applies to like different industries and verticals. I see a lot of you doing this. Don't do that. Do this instead. As part of like the.
Exactly. Eventually you could add, this is getting way ahead of ourselves, but you could, highlight the best roasts, later on. Or if someone, this is probably way more than we need to do, but you could go back and say, eventually do before and after. Right. Because hopefully someone will execute on the feedback. And so. There's an interesting library of evergreen content that can come from this. That's more of a value add in the future.
Got it.
And then, if my video team's like, oh, we might cancel this because we feel like we learned things.
Right.
Well, like we don't want to lose access to that library of content.
Fair enough.
So there could be some good things there.
And then just to clarify, like, so for this, it's like feedback before. Is it still more valuable? Like if you had
I think so. Because this is all people who are taking YouTube seriously. So the more I think about it.
Before you put it out. And then you would take my feedback and actually change the video. Do you feel like, because there's so many different ways feedback can be taken, what if it like they take the video like and I guess like they don't implement the feedback in the right way and it ends up like not performing as well? Would you hold that on the, hey, I followed your thing, it didn't work? Versus like a video that like you roast afterwards, it's like improve this.
Well, I think no one's expecting that you can take
a silver bullet.
Any
okay.
Any collection of audio and video and make it into something that's like
okay.
We're really, you have to know how to position it, but we're really anchoring around some level of increase.
I think
the deliverable and the value is there.
Okay.
And so now it's like, okay, what has to be true to be able to have 25 people as clients, right? To get to a meaningful amount of money. We got to fund that college fund.
Right.
And so we got the schedule, we got batching the content. What else?
So just to dive deeper into schedule, because I think this is the key to all of it. Okay, so you have between the 1st and the 15th to submit the content, or between the 15th and the 30th.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, let's say you submit on the 7th. So in this system, are you waiting until the 15th until that first window closes? And then you're waiting another 2 days until I have chance to, like, on the 15th or 16th when I sit down with all the content that's been submitted from the 1st through 15th, the first half of the month.
Yeah.
So now because you submit in that first window in the middle, you're waiting 7 days, 9 days. How does that feel?
Sure. I think we need to get into it. And what I was thinking about is, okay, if you went weekly, that means the gaps are shorter. But what if all 25 of us decide we want to submit our video in the first, the first week, and then and maybe that'd be okay. But I think you just need to play with it and see what people are doing.
Yeah.
But I think the expectation is, hey, use this for the videos that truly matter.
Yeah.
That you want to be a hit. And, I'm assuming this is true for you, but on these videos, you've got to put them out in advance so that you can get feedback, so you get edited.
Yes. Yeah.
Because the other thing is, if someone's like, hey, we review this, I'm really trying to publish it on the 16th.
Yeah.
You're like, no, you're not. Because you got to implement the feedback to be able to publish it.
Right. But let's say, I'm just trying to think about turnaround time when people pay a lot of money for, they expect expediency, So let's say let's even go more extreme example. Like the window closed on the 1st for everybody who submitted from the 15th to the 30th. You submit on the 3rd.
Yeah.
Now you're waiting 12 days until I lock it and can batch everything and review. And then you're waiting 2 days. So now you're waiting 2 weeks for feedback. How does that feel?
I think in some cases it's okay because I can plan around the schedule. And then you have the $500 rush fee. Where it's like, hey, if my schedule allows, I will rush oh, here we go. If you commit to a year, I will give you 2 rushes that year.
Oh, interesting.
Where I will do it on your schedule. But you're paying $12,000 in one go.
Yeah. So there's a rush fee.
I think there could be.
Yeah. And then
I would just play with it and see, do we need this?
Yeah.
And you might even write it in there. Mm-hmm. And it could be something that someone's like, hey, could you do this? Have to pay the rush fee. And you're like, you build some extra goodwill because you're like, oh, no problem. And
don't worry about that.
I'm gonna waive the rush fee this time. I had time available.
Yeah.
I'm in between shoots.
Right.
Whatever else.
So if it's like the rush fee being defined as like 48-hour turnaround.
Yeah.
Right.
If you can deliver on that, then
yeah,
absolutely. And do that for $500.
Yeah. Or if you buy like a year of the service, I give you 2.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting because I'm talking this out with you, and I feel like if I was a customer and I saw, his windows of submission are 1st and the 15th, I wouldn't think about that edge case of if I submit on the 2nd, I'm waiting 2 weeks. So I'm trying to think about, I probably have to have very clear copy to explain that.
Yeah, just put it in the FAQ.
FAQ, yeah.
Hey, what happens if I submit on the 3rd? How long do I have to wait? And it's like, oh.
That's good, yeah. Yeah, and then just, FAQ. Submit. Yeah, the like 2nd.
Yeah, just do the extreme edge.
Or 16th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll cover these things.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be fine.
Yeah.
So then how long do you think it would take to
review
a video?
So we start with 10 customers. Let's say it's a 10-minute video. Mm-hmm. It'll probably take me an hour, 45 minutes to an hour.
On a 10-minute video.
If I'm giving real detailed notes. Right. It's like 10 minutes I'm rewatching it back, which is actually making me think what if they give me an hour and a half video? I probably have to think about the
video length.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're thinking about the video, isn't it the first 10 minutes that matters most anyway?
Yeah, and even the first 5 minutes.
And so that's the thing. If you're saying you can submit any length of video you want.
Yeah.
I'm reviewing the first 10 minutes.
Got it.
Or up to the first 10 minutes.
Yeah. What? Okay. As a customer, how would you feel about the first 5 minutes?
I mean, you just have to position it as to why the first 5 minutes are 90% of what matters.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is true.
Yeah.
It's because even if we want to be really surgical about it, it's really the first 30 seconds to a minute.
Right.
But I feel like then the creator will lose out on all the feedback about how they retain, not just hook.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you just hammer that home. Someone's like, I really want you to review the full video.
Yeah.
And you're like, look, we're gonna keep working with you.
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
you dial the first
First
5
minutes.
because it doesn't matter after that.
So really, actually what I think it is it's thumbnail plus title plus
5 minutes.
first 5 minutes. So like that is really what the review is.
Yeah. How long do you think this takes?
That's faster because like I can see right away. The thing about it is it's fast to analyze when something's off. Maybe again, this is like going and trying to over delivering. I'm trying to find reference points of like, no, try a title like this, try a thumbnail like this.
I think that works.
Yeah.
So I guess math-wise, I should have done something different, but for this math to work, we need to get to what, 25 minutes per review?
Yeah. I'm like trying to think about how to even like, okay, so the first 5 minutes makes it better.
Yep.
So first 5 minutes, if I'm taking 5 times as long to review as the piece of content is, you know, because like I'm thinking about stopping, typing, like having a clear
you go
thought.
further and you're like, oh no, now I know what it is.
Yeah, now I go back. So everything I should just, as a rule of thumb, assume that anything that gets submitted to me, I'm taking 5 times longer to give them feedback.
Yeah.
Or find an example, give a reference. So this is like right away. This is 25 minutes.
I feel like if you get to 30 minutes per video, we're slightly over our time here.
Yeah.
But like, we're still in the
Yeah.
in the ballpark of a great.
ROI. Yeah.
And you're like, oh shoot, we're at 2,000 an hour instead of 2,500 an hour
Yeah.
on your takeaway, and you got to sell and market the thing and
Right.
other stuff like that.
Right.
Is there anything that someone who's not you could do in this process to provide value?
I'd want to do everything myself to start and then figure out how to delegate like we were talking about on stage. I think the organization of this, somebody else could do. Because like just taking my work and organizing it.
Probably the communication.
Definitely the communication of
I
like,
was going to say team.
yeah.
Things the team could do.
Yeah.
Is organization.
Yeah.
And then I think the communication.
Communicate, yeah, comms, yeah, for sure, yeah. Like, hey, thank you for submitting. John now has this in queue. We'll make sure to deliver by this day.
Well, that's automated.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess, yeah, we got, like submit. I guess
But there's some level of like packaging up the links, making sure that, you know, on this day, all the links are waiting for you.
Yes.
In the right format.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
So that you can do what you do best.
Yep.
I think there's a pretty interesting business there.
Yeah. It's nuts that we were like live talking and building this like after this morning because I was not even thinking about this as something.
So what I'm wondering is, like, is there anything that's missing that feels important or could be broken in the process?
My tendency is to add more to things without knowing if they're necessary. So I'm like trying to think about like if you give me access to your YouTube analytics, like, and I look at the but the fact that you said this is enough and that many people in our talk were emailing and saying, hey, I'll pay you to audit my content on a once a month. I'm like, and knowing how much time this will take, I'm tempted not to add more to it right now. And then I also don't want to be the guy who's like, hey, thanks for paying this much. Now here's upsell number 1, 2, and 3. No. You got the all access pass to Disney World. You know, like I'm not here to charge you more for, you know, like this ride versus that ride.
Yeah, I like that.
But except for the rush fee, which I think is like an extenuating circumstance that would bring upon like extra friction that I need to like figure out with every other part of the business. That's where I feel more justified.
Okay. Yeah. Here's the thing that I think you add. If someone does a 1-year commitment and they prepay, they get a channel audit as well.
Oh, nice.
Because most people, like most subscription software businesses, you say, hey, if you pay for a year, we'll give you 2 months for free.
Yeah.
In this case, all you did is you gave additional value. And you didn't have to offer, you know, whatever that is, an 18, 15% discount.
Yeah.
In our case, as a business, there's not really any difference between paying monthly and paying yearly on that amount of money.
Interesting.
And so you're like, yeah, we'll lock it in for a year. And you're going to give us, you know, we said the 2 rush fees, you know.
Yeah. For like your high priority videos. Yeah. Let's say that launch video that you put out.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that one, I know they're on a timeline. There's a lot of people like looking at
the stakes are high.
The stakes are high. That's one of Nathan's rush.
Yeah.
And maybe there's hopefully communication ahead of time.
Right.
This thing is coming this month.
Right. I was thinking about what Bonnie Christine was saying in the mastermind that we did.
Yeah.
Where she was just talking about how she's amazing at putting together sophisticated offers and the funnels to sell them and all of that. And for this one part of her business, and she sell like millions and millions of dollars a year in products.
Yeah.
And for this one part of her business, she's just like, nope, has to be dead simple. We sell it through Instagram DMs. This is the exact offer. That's it.
That's it.
We're like, oh, we can tack it. And she's like, no, it is just this.
Yeah.
And she sold, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of it in a couple of months.
Wow.
Because she just stayed so committed to,
yeah,
a very straightforward offer. And so I think that's what you have to do here.
So if I were to offer this right now,
yeah,
would you pay $12,000 to sign up?
Absolutely.
You would?
No question. We got it at the Amex right now.
Wow. Okay, if I launch, man. Okay, all right. Wow, you helped me ideate out of this. Okay, here's another question. Like, do you think I need to build a landing page and like to have this all fleshed out? Like, what level of like, or do I just take the people who are interested after like today and go with that, develop like the system, and then once we go to I think I always need to have a cap into who's in this.
Well, and that's the other thing. You say, hey, I'm only taking 5 clients.
Right.
As you did.
Yeah.
You do that. You make sure it's good.
And then
you dial in the process because we have so many assumptions in here.
Right.
Right. And so you find out, oh, I can actually do this a little faster. This is actually way slower and harder.
Right.
And you get that worked out. And then you get to go to your email list.
Yeah.
Or whoever, this wait list of people emailing you.
Yeah.
So I would always run a wait list.
Okay.
And say, hey, if you want to get on the wait list for this, there's other people on there. And then you email the wait list and you say, hey, I've got 2 slots open.
Got it.
Who wants them?
First come, first serve.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then, it's going to be much easier to sell.
Yeah. Is there ever a public landing page for this, or it's always communicated via email and like word of mouth?
Either one is fine. Mm-hmm. You need the page in order to make it clear what the expectations of the value.
Okay. Yeah.
Because, like we were talking about, it's really important the expectations are set
correctly. Yeah. Especially for this and what these are.
What you're getting.
The fact that your roast could be shared.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might just make this a default. And if somebody says they have a problem, I almost don't want to charge for the private thing right away.
I agree.
Because it's almost like I don't.
It can be shared within the group. And if someone's like, hey, maybe you do it as a favor or whatever else. So someone's like, hey, could you really not share this one?
Yeah.
You're like, no problem.
No problem. Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
But 9 out of 10 get shared publicly.
Yeah.
Because there's also diminishing returns.
Or semi-privately. Within the group. Yeah. Versus public, like, I think there's still a level of like, other people who are learning from others, like there's a level of like safety and vulnerability in having your rough drafts there versus like, hey, it's going to be public for anybody to access. And then that feels like that access is not real access because people didn't pay for it.
I'm like torn in this in a few different ways because on one hand, this caps out really soon.
Yeah.
When we could get into, how to scale it and we bring in other YouTubers and all this.
Yeah.
We're not trying to do that.
Right. No.
Like,
to define like the price tiers. I think there's 2 like sides of it. So it's annual, and then should I do monthly, 3 quarterly, or like I feel like monthly. The thing about it is like if you just do it once and then you opt out, it's like I think at least quarterly.
I think both are an annual commitment.
Both, no matter what.
One's just paid monthly, and the other is paid
up front. And then is there a refund policy?
I would probably position it as an annual commitment, and you can cancel anytime.
Cancel anytime.
Which is a little bit of a dichotomy there where you're like, well, hold on. Is it really a commitment if you can cancel?
Yeah.
But it's like, look, if this isn't delivering value,
right.
Happy to let you out of it. But you need people to come in. If someone's like, well, can I just do it for 3 months?
No, it's an annual.
It's like, no. You got to, look, we're going to get an increase in each video over time.
Right,
you got to implement it.
Yeah.
If you're thinking you're going to get a roast on one video and then forever be a phenomenal YouTuber.
No. It's a shift.
So I think the difference is really just pay up front. Annual commitment, but pay up front
versus the other one is pay monthly and like you submit your credit card and there's like a monthly withdrawal.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it's just annual versus monthly, and there's just a very slight. If you pay annual, there's bonuses
up front, and then let's say so it's annual pay up front versus pay monthly, and then if you do this, you get the monthly roast, right? Just the service, and if you do this, you get the monthly roast, but then you get the channel audit, and then you get the
2 rush
videos, and then this is 48 hour. Yeah, I might do 72 just in case it's a weekend, so I could get on Monday.
72 or 48 business hours.
48 business. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, And then pay up front. So they pay $12K up front.
Yeah.
They pay $1,000 monthly, first of the month, automatically deducted.
Yep.
But at any point, if they're like I'm not happy with the service, maybe it's like prorated back.
Yeah, exactly.
But this way, it's like, I guess the real benefit is to them, it's like you kind of sign up and then the money's going one way or another. This one is like, I can use the cash up front to hire, to build my team, to reinvest.
Yeah, because we could, if you had you get 10 people to pay up front, you've got 120,000.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I don't think you need a dedicated person for this.
Right.
But like, you have a lot of confidence in your ability to
deliver
offer this service.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
This is fun.
This is crazy.
Is really fun.
Yeah.
Like in 30 minutes or whatever, we're like, here's a whole map for a business. Like, we don't actually know because we haven't tested this.
Right.
Let's sit down.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we don't know for sure that this is going to work.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you and I have both been around in business for a long time. I've seen a lot of things, and I don't see anything about this that would make me think it's not going to work.
And the fact that it came from the audience saying, we'll pay, like, I would have never imagined that price point that we kind of anchored at until people started yelling it out. And then I was like, okay. I was just trying to find extra validation. I'm like, okay, email me. And then getting the emails, I'll pay.
Right.
Like, where's the Stripe page? I'm like, we just talked about it 30 minutes ago.
And they're like, but seriously, what have you been doing for the last?
What have you been doing? I've been commuting to Nathan's studio. So there's something there. I just think the way you're encouraged me to think about it with like time, and because I always over-index on the value.
Right.
And I'm like, let me do that. And then like when I had my course, just try to over-deliver, but it took a lot of time, And so for this, and you want to be sustainable both for yourself as well as them, is really interesting. So, dude, let's I'm excited to reflect on this and see what happens.
And we can report back on where it's at. But really, like, to wrap up some takeaways, I'll share a couple of mine, and I'm curious for yours. But I think the first thing is recurring revenue provides a huge amount of stability.
Yes.
And so I imagine this being the foundation that powers so much of your business and like gives you the confidence to take really big swings.
Yeah.
Because then, let's say there's a sponsor deal that comes in and you're thinking about like, it's not quite the right fit, but you've got payroll.
Yeah.
And this makes you like, oh, it's 100% off. Like, no interest in that because I've got the recurring expenses of the business totally covered by recurring revenue.
Right.
We can also launch this really quickly.
Yeah.
And then the last takeaway that I have is anytime you can get that immediate feedback, which most people don't have the luxury of like sitting in front of, 100 of their target customers.
It's amazing. It's
being
amazing.
like, wait, you pay for that? But any way you can recreate that early in the process, I think is so valuable.
That's huge. And also, I mean, the other thing about it is like, not only that, but like you guys are watching this right now. If you have thoughts in the comments, like let us know. Cause I mean, to your point, building in public is so fun because it's immediate signal versus noise.
Yeah.
I think my big takeaway is that I don't have to have the perfect landing page or the perfect product to launch because my tendency is like, let me get feedback. I always love, like, I'll be in an Uber and I'll ask my Uber driver for their thoughts on something that I'm working on, but like I'll get feedback, but sometimes I need to polish the landing page and get everything together before I launch something. And I think this whole process has taught me is like, no, if you can really offer a service that people are asking you for before you even put it out, then deliver value to them, perfect it while, like having it as a business. And then the polish is when you want to scale.
You know what? I think our rule for this should be is that your sales page, as much as you ever get for this first version, has to be a Google Doc.
I was going to say, if you're paying that much money, don't you feel a little bit let down by a Google Doc, or you don't care?
No, because I feel like I'm getting on the ground floor of something
do.
that like, you're like, hey, I only offer this to 5 people, or I'm only offering, gradually scaling it up. And you just, the way I would position it is I'm like, look, I could spend all this time. I could hire a designer, make a beautiful page. That's not what you're paying me for.
Yeah.
You're paying me to give a teardown, to roast your video.
Yeah.
And
that's good.
So you cut away everything else and just focus on the value.
So if I put because I think it's right, setting clear expectations and FAQs is important. If I put that in a Google Doc, send it to you and the other people who email me, like you feel with
with a ConvertKit commerce link for the checkout.
Great.
Right.
Yeah.
So people can sign up and do that recurring thing, and you're good to go. You've got a business that, like, you would leave Craft and Commerce with a $5,000 a month recurring revenue business, and then pretty quickly scale it to 10 and then 25,000 a month.
Dude, this is I mean, I have so many more questions, but I think this is the most tangible thing that, I don't know, like has come from like a talk like this. So I appreciate it and helping me think through. I hope it's valuable to people watching as well. But this is amazing, man. I can't wait to see where this goes. Thank you, Nathan.
I love it. So if someone wants to get on the wait list for this,
Yeah.
give the email address one more time where they can send you an
email me at hi@youshaei.com. So hi@youshaei.com. Mention that you're interested in the roast per month program, or just type in roasted in the subject line and tell me a bit about yourself. I think I do want to take a look at people's channels and make sure they're a good fit.
Well, yeah, it's got to be an application process.
Yeah.
We don't just let anyone into this.
Yeah. And so, but more so to make sure it's valuable to them. And then I'll put together the Google Doc to start now. It's so interesting. It's almost like you go to In-N-Out Burger and this is the secret menu, you know?
There you go. I like it.
You're shifting my mind in terms of all that. But yeah, I think that's the email. If you're interested or if you have any thoughts, leave it in the comments. But let's keep building this in public and see where it goes. And I think this is going to be such a great way for me to fund even bigger productions and grow it. Like I mean, with our interviews and like what we've done, like that last interview with Mr. Beast was our most expensive shoot because I just wanted to make it, you know, the graphics, the set, like all the stuff that we did, like, you know, it took a lot of like manpower to pull that off.
Right.
So this would be cool to have the peace of mind that I could do even more of that for viewers and for our business. So, man.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, we'll leave it there. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank you, Nathan.
Leave comments if have any feedback at any point in there. Drop a comment and say like, oh, this is what I think you should do.
Yeah, I'll be coming back to this comment section. This is very like a targeted conversation. But thank you, man.
Sounds
this is
good.
a pleasure.
And I'm happily customer number one.
Thank you, man. Let's do it. Let's do it. Appreciate it. Perfect.
There we go.
Dude, that was amazing. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, go to the YouTube channel, just search $1 Billion Creator, and go ahead and subscribe. Make sure to like the video and drop a comment. I'd love to hear what some of your favorite parts of the video were and also who else we should have on the show.